Well, good evening. Okay. Still loading, okay.
The live stream.
Oh, that's right. Okay. We'll open the meeting for the City of Walker Planning Commission for Wednesday, September 3. First item here are the reviewing the meeting minutes from August 6 and August 20. You've had an opportunity to take a look at those. Any comments, questions, corrections? Look all in order.
I'll make a motion to approve both meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Scott, supported by Elena, to approve the minutes for August 6 and August 20. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this point, opportunity for general public comment. We got two items on the agenda where they're both public hearings, so there'll be opportunity to offer comments on those. But if you have anything of a more general nature that you'd wish to share with the Planning Commission, this is an opportunity to step forward, give us to the mic, give us your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes for making a comment. Any takers? No takers. So, that being the case, we'll move into the agenda item. Again, public hearing, in this case, 3285 Northridge Drive, Northwest. And Paula Preby, Planning Director, will introduce the project.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is case 25-8. It's the final area site plan review for 3285 Northridge Drive, Northwest. As you'll see on my report, this was originally on the agenda for July 16, and it got delayed, and then it got delayed again. So we're seeing it here tonight for the first time, although it has previously been on a meeting agenda. It was noted as postponed at that time. All right. So this review is for a new multi-tenant industrial building of just under 150,000 square feet. The site is zoned IPUD. It's part of the Northridge East IPUD. Let me pull up. So here's where we are on Northridge Drive, just south of Hendershot. This is the parcel in question. This kind of long rectangle here was the Northridge East IPUD, originally approved in 2019, and this is one of the remaining sites. This one has since filled in, so we've got that before us tonight. The applicant met with the staff site plan review committee in late June, was provided feedback. I don't have a whole lot of comments for the board on this one. It's a pretty straightforward industrial building. As you can see here, a brief rendering, and then here is the larger PUD that I mentioned. This is the PASP, so we're looking at lot 5 here. And this is the final area site plan. There's 2 entrances off of Northridge, which at this area is to the west of the building. And then there are 3, the truck docks are to the south. There's some parking most of the way around the building. The landscape plan shows the street frontage and parking lot perimeter landscaping required by the ordinance. The sheet here, the FASP, shows a note and a little indicator for a ground-mounted sign. We don't have any of the details on that signage, so that will have to come in separately for a sign review. And there are no PUD benefits being requested as part of this project. I will note that there has been a change in ownership of the parcel since it originally applied. It's the same folks under a different company name, is my understanding. I have all the documentation for that. They had some concern about that. From my perspective, they're all good to go. None of the details of the project have changed except for the owner on the top. So from that review, really, that's all I have unless you have questions for me. It's pretty much everything I'd look for is all seen on the plan set, so I don't have a lot of comments for the board on this one.
Thank you, Paula. Commissioners, any questions at this point? Okay, we'll move on to City Engineer Scott Connors.
Similar for us. There's not a whole lot to report here. One change that has to be made, the sidewalk along the frontage. The frontage actually does include the Consumers Energy or the ITC power lines that run along the north side of the site. That isn't an easement. So they do have to extend the sidewalk up to the Hendershot intersection. But the piece of frontage along Hendershot, as you'll notice in our report, is not included because they do not have frontage on Hendershot itself there. There's a sliver of property that was left behind. I think that was done in kind of the haste to add Hendershot to the project and to add Amazon to the project when Amazon went in. So there were a lot of moving pieces all at once at that point, and I can't put the pieces back together again, quite honestly, because it went through the Planning Commission at one time, and we're not sure how that got slipped through, but Amazon should have built that sidewalk along Hendershot. So we'll have to deal with that at a future date. The key here is that they're going to get the sidewalk up to that intersection, and that will be probably enough for now. One other thing we had was the southeast part of the site there, where you see the truck parking. That is very tight, and for fire trucks to get around that building, we're going to want to make sure that those trailers are not shown on the plan and not part of the approved site plan, because the last thing we want to do is get a situation where fire trucks or any other trucks really can't get around that building. So we would want you to make note of that in any review or any action that you take. And that's it for us.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other comments or questions for Scott? Okay. At this point, applicant, representative, come forward. Again, give us your name and address and introduce the project. From your perspective.
Sure, my name is Dave DeYoung. I'm with Visser Brothers. We're the contractor building this project for the owner. Yeah, I think Paul and Scott described it pretty well. It's just a typical industrial building that's being put up on speculation. The idea being that as tenants come along, we would treat those improvements as separate permits under a whole separate project from this. This is just a shell-only type of application. And very similar to what we've done on Northridge.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions, comments for the applicant? Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave, you heard the discussion regarding that sidewalk. Would you object if we included as a condition that you complete the process?
Yes. We have no problem going along Northridge on the property that our client owns, but the rest of that property is not, it's not part of this project. It's not under our ownership. So we would object to that piece, but not the part about extending it under the power lines.
I had one question. This might be slightly outside our purview, but just looking at the drawings here, is there going to be some grading that occurs within that easement with, is that Consumers, the power lines there, the transmission lines?
On the northeast corner.
Yeah, sorry.
We're getting into it, right about there. We're getting into it by about 6 feet. We've already got clearance from ITC on that.
Okay, that might be something as we consider action on this to take into account, to make a notation of that.
Scott, I have a question with that sidewalk. How would we ever fill that in? Because we obviously don't want to create the sidewalk gap there. And to me, you're not going to be able to go underneath those ITC lines at any point. This is the time to do this now. That I think that would have to be a requirement, in my opinion, that it occurs now, so we don't have another gap that we have to fill in.
Well, the piece that's underneath the ITC lines for sure, and that's part of their frontage. That's pretty cut and dry. It's the piece on the north side where the property line for Amazon was drawn further south than the actual right-of-way line. And that's when things were moving very quickly through the Planning Commission, through the City Commission. I think everybody was kind of on board with get Amazon, don't let this go. And some mistakes were obviously made at that point, probably on all parties, by the developer as well, because I think they've been fighting with title companies here over the last month trying to get this figured out. So things were just moving way too fast at that point, and I don't think the line got drawn in the right spot. So the answer to your question, how would it get done, is cash. We'd have to just do it.
Yeah.
We'd have to use city general fund dollars to fill that in, and unless Amazon comes back later and has some kind of an improvement, then we could require it from them. But this wasn't the only oversight there. There was also a sewer issue and a water issue that resulted from the very last minute change to add Amazon to that original overall PUD.
So is the parcel viewer not correct then? Like if you look at it for the ownership of it?
I don't know which one you're looking at. I think the Regis stuff
Yeah, that's what I was
showed
looking
that
at.
sliver, I believe. But you have to remember on the parcel viewer that it probably doesn't show the ITC easement.
For the applicant, it would appear that the north drive would be primarily for passenger vehicles, and then the southern one would be for truck traffic. Is that correct?
100% correct. And we would sign it accordingly.
Okay. Notice that the business across the street, whose driveway comes in a little bit north of that south driveway, I think they've got that signed for truck entry. Now, this sets up a situation where you might have left turn lockup on it. Something we generally see in a more of a passenger vehicle issue. I'm not sure if that's an issue here, given the relative infrequency of left turns for people. It would have to be a case somebody's coming across the street and they're going north on Northridge, and it might conflict with somebody that's going south and wants to turn into the driveway into your project. I don't know, from your engineer standpoint, did they take a look at that or not?
That's not been a concern of ours or anybody on our teams at any point in the project, I can tell you that.
Scott, from the city's standpoint, is that?
It's absolutely something that we would look at. We've looked at so many sites on Northridge, and this one was even like 2 months ago, I think, that we talked about it. So I can't remember if that came up, but you're correct that the volumes out there aren't as high as we would normally kind of get so worried with. Now, it's a little different today, in this summer. There's a lot more volume out there than, I think it's up to like 7,000 cars a day. We just had a check recently, so it's very busy. But generally, it's quite quiet through these large lot industrial developments, so it's probably not as big of a deal. But I can't remember if we talked about it at site plan review and asked them to adjust it or not.
We did not.
Dave says we did not.
Okay. Well, and again, I bring it up as that's something we look at generally, and again, given the circumstance here, the type of traffic, the fact that Northridge connects both to Walker and Fruit Ridge, and especially with the Fruit Ridge Bridge that will be upgraded, truckers will have a better opportunity to come in from either way in order to make their trips in and out of the site. But otherwise, I think with regard to the staff comments and the note that the comment that Scott offered with respect to the semi-trailer parking, and that not to necessarily have that approved as a site plan, that would suggest that would be an eligible place or approved place for truck semi-trailer parking, I think is a factor we want to take into account. Any other comments, questions?
Just correct me if I'm wrong, but based on your previous comment, your objection to a sidewalk on Hendershot is because of the ownership of that sliver along Hendershot.
Correct.
And if that was not an issue, you would not object to the requirement of putting a sidewalk. Indeed, you'd be required to, yes?
Yeah, we have no frontage on Hendershot. If we did, it
Gotcha.
wouldn't be an issue for us.
And Paula, if a sidewalk were to go in on Hendershot, that would have, like, the city has leeway to take initiative to put that in with city funds if it desires.
We could, you know, the bigger concern for me is the maintenance responsibility, to be honest. Putting it in is pretty easy, but going out there every time it snows, bigger issue.
But if we put
so
it in and Amazon owns it, doesn't that mean it's Amazon's responsibility to?
You would think so.
Okay. I'm
But
asking
but
because.
I don't think they own it, and that's what part of the title work problem that's been going back and forth is between two private property owners debating who owns it. And oddly enough, I don't think either one of them want it, which is something we never see.
Is it reasonable to say that 5 years from now, this will be settled and someone will own that?
If it becomes an issue, it'll be settled.
Okay.
If there's not a goat path out there, meaning that people aren't walking through there, if we don't see a lot of activity, it's not gonna rise to the top of, you know, our agenda in terms of critical items that we take care of. We do go out and close gaps in the sidewalk network occasionally, though. We have money that we set aside for sidewalk maintenance. When we get to the end of the year, if we're doing well with that budget, a lot of times we'll go out and we'll say, hey, we're gonna build, you know, 300 feet of sidewalk here that connects a neighborhood with a critical collector road, and we'll do some of those kinds of things. But we really don't plan those ahead. They're kind of moments of opportunity.
Okay, so what I'm kind of driving at here is if we can't require the applicant to put in a sidewalk, can we attach a bond to this for the applicant to pay the city, for the city to put in the sidewalk? Since the only real issue is the question of ownership, not of finances. Is there a precedent for
You
that?
don't
Is
see
that,
the connection between those two?
say that again?
You don't see the connection between those two? Ownership and finance?
Fair. I mean, I'm not amending it yet. I'm throwing this out as a, you know, is this something there would be a precedent for?
We have done similar things before, but there's no precedent for this site the way that this has been
Okay.
orchestrated over time, I would say. It's very unique.
Okay, thank you.
And I think to Scott's point too, of like keeping track of like how many people use it too, like that's gonna be a huge thing for us to do too at the city, cause obviously we have other ones that are more important for us to fill into first. And like he said, like we don't even, like the whole ownership thing, that all started from the beginning too, so.
All right, we've had some good discussion, recommendations from staff. Do we have anyone ready to offer a motion?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of opening the public hearing indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I didn't think that was the motion you were asking for, Terry, but I thought we should do that first.
All right.
I'll make a
Any
motion to
public
close
comment?
the public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Elena, supported by Scott to close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now on the project.
I can make a motion. Case number 25-008, 3285 Northridge Drive Northwest, final area site plan. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to approve the final area site plan for a new 147,790 square foot industrial building and associated site improvements at 3285 Northridge Drive Northwest, subject to the following conditions and based on the findings of fact noted below. The applicant shall address all the items outlined in the city engineer's report dated July 10th, 2025. The applicant shall provide 3 sets of sealed civil engineered conditions to the Community Development Department prior to the issuance of building or stormwater permits. Findings of fact per section 1102G5. The PUD, as described by the final area site plan dated July 2nd, 2025, does continue to meet the standards contained in the preliminary area site plan requirements. The final area site plan is in substantial compliance with the previously approved preliminary area site plan consisting of maps and accompanying written materials. The PUD does comply with the uses permitted by the IPUD district and the uses approved within the related preliminary area site plan.
I'll support.
Okay, you got a motion by Scott, supported by Jacob.
Friendly amendment potentially. Can we clarify specifically the third item on the engineering report? Is the recommendation that all of the trailer parking be removed, or is there a certain number of those trailers that is being recommended to be removed?
I believe during site plan review, I believe they eliminated one or two, but the plan that I'm seeing here does not look like it's that version. But we want to make sure that we've got at least 30 feet around that corner, or in a radius, you know, so that a truck can get around there. And that was a big issue with the fire chief, and I'm kind of here to carry the message for him. So I would ask that at least 2 of those trailers be just plain removed from the record, from the plan of record, so that we can be clear in the future that they're not allowed there.
I will add that as a condition that 2 out of those 3 be removed.
Or, I'm sorry, two of the total.
Right, that's 2. Yes, 2 of the 6, I'm sorry.
We did talk about that during review, and we have no problem with that. It should have been shown that way on our plan. We just need to update that. We have no
Okay.
issue with that.
Jacob, you're in
Support.
agreement? Okay. So we have motion and support to, with the amendment incorporated, to conditionally approve the site plan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is another public hearing, and this is at 3375 Shippers Drive, and Paula Preby, Planning Director, will introduce.
Thank you, Chair. Let me orient us here. So we are now on the other side of Northridge Drive, just east of Walker. This is Walker Avenue here. Here's a hotel, here's the new hotel going in, and this is the parcel in question here at the northwest corner, this one here. Let me get this site plan pulled up for you. This is the proposed site plan. This site is in a large PUD as well. This is part of the Walker View PUD. This is lot C5, one of the commercial zoned properties in this area, Zone C PUD. The proposal is for just over 10,000 square foot building with associated site improvements. It's before you, the board tonight, for 2 reasons. There are 2 components and 2 sample motions for the board. The first is a special land use, and the second is the final area site plan. I'll take them in that order. The table of permitted uses in section 502 of the zoning ordinance includes special recreation or commercial recreation as a special land use in the C1 and C2 districts. The CD district refers back to those and states that any uses permitted there are permitted in the CPUD, subject to the board. And in section 201B, that's the definitions chapter, the definition for commercial recreation is split into indoor and outdoor. Indoor recreation, according to the ordinance, means an indoor facility for leisure, exercise, or entertainment. Examples include bowling alleys, theaters, sports arenas, arcades, indoor playgrounds, court or rink sport facilities, indoor obstacle courses, rock climbing, and adventure sport facilities, trampoline parks, and similar activities. It's my evaluation that this proposed use of an indoor shooting range falls within the and similar activities, and that it's considered as commercial recreation use. And so as a special land use in the commercial district permitted under the CPUD and the approved PASP, the board would need to approve the special land use for the commercial recreation. And that is just the additional review to ensure that the use is compatible with the surrounding area, adjacent uses, natural environment, and the capacity of public services and facilities. The memo addressing the standards for special land use approval in their report. So I encourage the board to, if you have questions about those, to direct those toward the applicant, but that's kind of the summary of the special land uses for the proposed indoor shooting range. As part of the site plan review committee meeting, which happened in mid-August, I asked the applicant to provide some additional information for the board about safety within an indoor shooting range facility. They provided some in their application, the narrative materials. So as a slideshow is what they presented to me, so that's in here. Hopefully the applicant will speak to this, but again, if you have questions specifically about that use, the applicant told me they were prepared to answer those questions tonight. So moving on to the final area site plan. Again, the staff met with the applicant on August 14. Most of my comments, again, the things that I'd look for, planning and zoning, use, setbacks, conformity with the PAS, parking, loading, lighting, all of that, thumbs up from me. Two things of note. One, there is one PUD benefit requested by the applicant. According to the note on their sign, they're requesting 2 freestanding signs, one along Northridge and a second on the driveway approach off Shippers. So I encourage the board to consider that request and include your determination in any motion made regarding the FASP. So as you can see, there is a note for a sign down here along Northridge and also a sign here next to the driveway. At Site Plan Review Committee, they mentioned that most of the traffic will likely be coming in off of the freeway entrance, and it's difficult to see with the driveway set so far along Shippers. Make sure they identify their building. There's also wall signage being proposed on the building. So that's for the board to discuss. The zoning ordinance permits 1 freestanding sign generally. Other planned unit developments have been granted additional signage. It's up to the board's discretion. The second is comments from the police department. I included in my report an email from the police chief. I'm just going to read my summary here. The site is located immediately to the south of Michigan State Police Grand Rapids Post at 22904 Mile Road Northwest. The police chief reached out to contact at the MSP regarding this project. Police Chief Menkel provided an email for the board stating that they, quote, both agree that this would be a well-monitored business and they do not have any significant concerns or objections at this time, unquote. Chief Mankel did, quote, recommend adding additional trees along the north property line, unquote, to help make a natural barrier between the 2 adjacent buildings and uses. And so that is at the request of staff. And again, I'd encourage the board to include a determination on that in any motion. But that's pretty much my summary. I am in support of these being approved. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Thank you, Paula. Commissioners, any questions for Paula? Okay. I'll move to Scott Connors, City Engineer.
2 items remaining for us. We want to make sure that they secure the 10-foot private utility easement that allows for power lines, cable lines, gas lines, things like that. Is part of Walker View number 1, which is this is part of the developer never secured those private utility easements. They thought they were secured, all those utilities went in. So what we've had to do is go through one at a time through site plan review and make sure that those are all done. I think this is one of the last lots. So pretty easy item there because the utilities are actually already there. So Chief Mankel already took care of the second item we had, and then the last item is something that you see a lot from us. The sidewalk that is adjacent to the parking spots should be 7 feet. I think it's shown as 5 feet. So in this case, you know, I certainly don't expect to see a lot of Mini Coopers or small cars parked in a facility like this. People are going to back in. They're going to want to get into their trunks to get equipment and stuff out. I can't think of a site where this is more important than here to make sure that we can secure at least 5 of the 7 feet will be open for people to get through. So pretty important for this site. That's it.
Thank you, Scott. Again, any questions for Scott? All right. At this point, we look to the applicant.
Commissioners, my name is Steve Whitty from Netterveld, here tonight representing Leslie Tassel Incorporated. First of all, thank you for your time and consideration regarding this request. Also, thank you to city staff. They've been very helpful in getting us to this point. With me in attendance tonight are several members of Leslie Tassel Incorporated, who again is the developer and will be owner of the property. They have a purchase agreement in place on it. as well as Stuart Mullen with Range Development Services. He's the gun consultant, or gun range consultant from, I think, North Carolina. So he's kind of the expert on this type of use and the safety involved and that type of thing. Paula did a great job giving you an overview in her staff report and verbally now, so I won't repeat all those details, but I will elaborate on just a couple of things. What is proposed, again, the building itself has 10 firing or shooting lanes in the building. Those are located to the west side of the building. But then also, in addition to the firing range, they have a retail sales area, event area, classroom areas, and office space. So this is really intended for people to train safety-wise and to get together for this activity. Access to the site is via a single driveway off of Shippers. If you're familiar with the site, Northridge actually climbs up to Shippers, and then Shippers climbs up to the north. So we have our driveway as far away from the intersection as possible and at the high side of the site, because building 101, your building wants to be on the high side of the site versus the low side of the site. So we put our driveway as far north as possible. We have a total of 59 parking spaces provided. That's a fair amount more than how I interpret the ordinance being required number-wise, but for this type of use, they really need that number to make the business, to make sure that there's enough is proposed along both Shippers and Northridge. Utility-wise, there are already stubs provided for the sanitary sewer, water main, and storm sewer, the regional detention provided, so it's a very simple site from an engineering standpoint, utility-wise. We do have proposing substantial landscaping along both the street frontage as well as foundation plantings to really enhance the appearance of the building and the site and to make it inviting and attractive. The building itself, in my opinion, is a very attractive building. It consists primarily of brick masonry, ribbed metal siding, and split-face CMU. The height of the building is 12 feet to the eaves, but then there's a parapet wall that extends another 4 foot taller, so the appearance of the building is 16 feet tall. As Paula indicated, the building itself is specifically designed for a firing range for safety, ballistic containment, and everything else. It's very modern and safe building. As Paul indicated, we are requesting one PUD benefit, and that's to have 2 freestanding signs on the site. One sign will be located just south of the driveway off of Shippers, but then the other one, we'd like it off of Northridge, primarily, again, because of that substantial grade difference, and then also because of that grade difference, our building is set quite a ways off of Northridge Drive, so we want to make sure that people who are visiting the site, who don't know exactly where it is, when they're driving east on Northridge Drive, they can see the sign and they know where they're supposed to go. So we really appreciate that being approved as a PUD benefit. As Paul indicated with my submittal, I did include a narrative on how the special land use standards have been met. I won't read through those. If you want me to, I can, but I'm sure you don't want me to. And then also, Stuart had submitted, put together a brochure that outlines kind of the safety of the site, how that's kind of handled and addressed, as well as giving you some photos of inside very similar sites to give you kind of a feel or a taste of how that'll look inside the building itself. We did obviously get staff comments, no issues on any of those. Just to elaborate on a couple of them, there is a request to add a few trees along the north property line to provide a buffer. Even though that's not required in the ordinance, I don't think we're fine with doing that. We want to be good neighbors and provide a buffer, so we'll add a few trees there at the request of the state police. Scott had indicated that there's a 10-foot private utility easement that needs to be added, so we actually show that on our plan, and that'll be provided and recorded pending approval. And then our plan actually already does show the 7-foot sidewalk next to the parking spaces. I agree with Scott, I think it's important to have here, so we are already showing that. So that being said, that gives you a little bit of overview of the project and the site plan. If you have any questions on the site plan, engineering, or anything related to that type of thing, I'd be happy to answer those types of questions. If you have anything business related wise or function of the building itself or safety wise, Stuart is probably better to answer those types of questions. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, any comments or questions for the applicant? Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my questions go to Stuart.
Sure.
Good evening. Yes, sir. Good evening. I am not familiar with your industry. I don't believe we have a specific city ordinance regarding this, and I'm not familiar with a state law that addresses this type of facility. So my question is, Is there an industry standard for safety? I reviewed the materials, and it looks like you've been very conscientious with respect to safe operations. But in my mind, I would like to, if there is such a thing, incorporate industry standards regarding safety and safe operations, if there is such a thing, because here in 2025, you may be operating safely, but 20 years from now, I'd like a link to the future saying we will continue to maintain those high standards of safety and so forth. So is there such a thing?
No, sir.
Okay.
In a word, the National Shooting Sports Foundation supports the firearms industry businesses, and they've designated me as a range action specialist. So I'm a subject matter expert. I don't know if the slides that I are included, but I'm glad to just kind of walk you through some of the systems that are included, starting with the building itself. If you'll click through a few more slides down, there's one that has some orange boxes. Next one right there. Those are the two bays, which are effectively rooms. And those two rooms are constructed differently than the balance of the building because that's where the live fire activity occurs only. And so those boxes represent solid masonry walls, and in this case we'll have a concrete lid as well, a roof structure. There's an alternative to that where we install steel baffles under a bar joist system, but that's not what we're doing in this case. So it is effectively a concrete bunker, and then within that space there are stall walls that divide the individual shooting positions ballistically. It's solid steel, so even at a perpendicular angle, a round cannot go through those stall walls. They're designed to take the impact of a round. And then from a HVAC perspective, that's where there is some regulatory or some guidance that the Navy follows, which we also follow by default, really to ensure that we have a safe breathing environment, because the fumes and toxins that come out of a firearm when it's discharged in an indoor environment is different. Well, they're not different, but the setting versus an outdoor range, we have to ensure that that air moves from behind the shooter and then down all the way down range at a particular rate. The rate is significant. It exchanges all of the air in the range within about 90 seconds, which is 10 times faster than the air is exchanged in a room like this. And then from a sound abatement perspective, we construct the walls and the roof system in a way that helps ensure that we abate as much sound as possible. You still, of course, have to wear hearing protection, whether you're indoor or outdoor. And then we have sound abatement material that's also applied to the walls. All of these systems we do really effectively voluntarily. National, state, or federal set of laws or regulations. The air component can sometimes, if it's not operated or designed correctly, does become an OSHA issue, which is really there to serve or protect employees, not customers. So inherently, we're going to follow the industry standard practices that I've outlined for you, just by a matter of protecting the business and the value of the improvements that we've invested in. I don't want to go on and on. So.
No, I appreciate it. So you indicated in your materials carefully designed with, quote, carefully crafted standard operating procedures. Is that in written form?
It will be. By the time we're open and operational, the standard operating procedures apply across the board, from the simplest of activities, from how and when the store is opened from a security perspective, as well as how we check in patrons and members to and from the range, the type of ammo that we will use, the type of shooting that will be permitted, the caliber that will be permitted. All of those SOPs are documented prior to grand opening, and then staff is trained according to those SOPs.
So at least some of those relate to safety, both employees and...
All the way around,
Okay.
Yes.
So if we said something like, we'll develop and maintain standard operating procedures to ensure safety of employees and customers, or customers, is that the term you use?
our patrons. as well
Patrons,
as
would
our
that be
staff.
objectionable?
We'll do it whether you ask for it or not.
Oh,
sir.
okay,
No objection.
okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mark?
Same gentleman here, sorry. Stuart. Let's say that a enthusiastic patron ignores all the signs that I know you're going to have up and walks into that range and unleashes several rounds of the steel core surplus 54R that is floating around right at the ceiling. Is that staying in the room?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Now, there's mention in here about retail sales. You'll be selling firearms there?
It's a very modest amount of square footage. As I mentioned, I've been building gun ranges across the country, and they range in size from 1,200 to 5,000 square feet of retail showroom. We have about 700 and less than 750 square feet. So our primary SKUs will be ammo, targets, eye and ear protection, but we're not going to cover the gambit with hundreds of SKUs, and so it's very limited, to answer your question.
The firearms that will be for sale, will they be locked up after hours in some kind of gun safe or some secure?
We secure the building as the primary focus, and then the cases themselves will also be locked up. So there would not be direct access to firearms whatsoever. It's a major concern for us, obviously.
Okay, ammunition as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I assume this is a for-profit
Yes, sir.
business. Do people have subscriptions to this, or how does that work? You just come in as you want to? It's deer season, so you go down and sight in your gun, or how does this work?
We're membership driven. The idea behind the business model is that recurring revenue from monthly and annual membership ensures that we have a predictable stream of revenue, and then from the member's perspective, we're able to bundle training and access to the range with priority access, quicker access than someone who's not a member. So we are driven at the business model level by promoting membership.
I think there's a need for this. We're always going out in the woods and shooting into a bank, and then we measure off 20 yards, and then somebody wants to run up and look at see where the sight is, and everybody else is sitting back with their guns. So, yeah, I think this is a good idea. It's a matter of who's going to run it. I mean, how many people and what's their experience, and I mean, it'd be cons of the quality of the people managing it, I would think, as far as anybody getting hurt.
Yes, sir. The range will have range safety officers who are trained. That's actually a designation that the NRA and some other organizations have specific criteria and curriculum around which that certification is designated or awarded. And so only designated certified range safety officers will work on the range. And then we'll have trained staff in that check-in and check-out process to ensure that those who are showing up are of clear mind and conscience to the extent that's possible. But if somebody reeks of a substance that they should not, they will absolutely be denied access. It's really probably one of the only industries where we can profile, if you will, a little more freely than most other businesses. If we don't like or are not comfortable with someone who's requesting access to the range, they'll be denied and shown the door without hesitation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go back to Steve here. Is there an idea of what the signs might look like, these two signs?
They haven't completed a sign detail yet, but it'll comply with what normally is allowed in the zoning district for a sign. So.
I think it makes sense from a wayfinding perspective, especially with that drive so far up shippers there too.
Yeah, for sure. Paul, do you have a rough idea of what size we're even talking about here? It's referenced.
Yeah, I can pull it up. I wrote that in the sample motion to read, if the board wants to grant those. If the planning commission grants or does not grant the requested PUD benefit of allowing 2 freestanding sides, each not to exceed the permitted size allowed for freestanding sides in the district. And then it references the exact section of the code. That's 48 square feet for a freestanding sign in the CPUD,
And
with a maximum height of 8 feet.
that is actually stated on my site plan sheet, general note 6 is where the area, maximum area is stated. And
So, yep, so if the board were to grant the additional signage, the signs would need to come in under a permit to the Community Development Department. They would be reviewed, but they would be allowed the additional sign if the board grants it.
Thank you.
Steve? With regard to the recommendation or request on landscaping along the north lot line, you've indicated that they're willing to do so. If we're inclined to go with that as a requirement, it may be a matter of having them work with staff as to what that might look like. Can't go crazy on it, but we want to be reasonable so that they have the type of buffering that's requested.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Yep.
On the site plan, it would suggest along the west lot line that a portion of that existing trees will be retained.
That's what I'm showing, correct.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. It's a shame we couldn't save more of it, but you have to have a place for the
Grading-wise,
building to go.
Yeah, the grading wise, it's such that you really need to, you can't have the trees right up to the building, just grading wise, because there's such a grade change on that property.
Okay.
I'll
Elena?
make a motion to open the public hearing.
Support? Motion and support to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any comments, takers? Okay, seeing none.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Mark, supported by Jacob. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I just had one quick question for the city staff here. Is there any issue with site plans having, like they have here, proposed future or possible future parking? Is there any issue in having that? In my previous experience with regulatory agencies, they often don't want to see that. It just, you submit for what is as is kind of thing. So just wanted to hear your 2 cents on that.
From my perspective, just because it's shown here as possible future parking, that does not give the applicant permission to just put that parking in at any time in the future. It would need to come to the city for review. So from looking at it from a zoning perspective, don't have a problem. I don't know, Scott, from an engineering perspective.
And maybe Jacob, is it stormwater related? Because that could change the stormwater calculations. I would certainly understand that, but I think.
And some grading, possible grading too, if you see on the south side there.
Yeah, so all of these lots within an industrial park are estimated in terms of how much impervious area they're gonna generate, worst case scenario. So we almost always end up with less than the design amount. So we wouldn't be too worried about that perspective. I think we often encourage people to do it just so that it's reserved, so they don't put anything else there. Okay. So that if this business really takes off and all of a sudden people are parking in Shippers Drive, we don't want that. We can go back to the plan and say, hey, we got a problem out here, you've got a solution right on your plan, let's implement the solution.
Sure. I only ask because I've had previous experience where you issue a permit for something and it slides under the table and they say, oh, it's on the drawing. So that's what I just want to bring it for.
Paula, from a staff standpoint with the trees, would we be able to just do that at staff's recommendation for the number of trees?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm happy to communicate with the police chief and make sure that sufficient trees are provided.
Okay, perfect.
All right, good discussion. Anyone?
I'll make a motion for the special land use.
Okay.
Case number 25-013A for 3375 Shippers Drive Northwest Special Land Use. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to approve the special land use for Walker Indoor Range at 3375 Shippers Drive Northwest to permit an indoor commercial recreation use in the CUPD district in accordance with the plan set last revision dated 8/19/2025. Subject to the following conditions and based on the findings of facts below. Findings of facts per section 18-09, the establishment, maintenance, location, or operation of the indoor commercial recreation use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public. The indoor commercial recreation use is compatible with the intent of the zoning district and will not change the essential character of the surrounding area. The indoor commercial recreation use will not be injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes permitted, will not substantially diminish or impair property values within the area, and will not result in any significant adverse impact on the natural environment. The establishment, maintenance, location, or operation of the indoor commercial recreation use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvements of surrounding property for uses permitted in that district. Adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities have been provided such that the indoor commercial recreation use will not place demands on public services or facilities in excess capacity. The indoor recreation use will, in all other aspects, conform to applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located, conditions imposed on approval, and all other applicable provisions of law, ordinance, or statute.
I'll support.
Okay,
Can I propose an amendment for this moment? I'd like to put a condition or propose a condition that applicant will develop and at all times maintain and comply with standard operating procedures to ensure maximum safety for employees and patrons.
Yes, I agree with that statement that was
And I would
provided to
capitalize
amend it.
standard capital O operating capital P procedures.
okay. We have a motion and support. This is on the special land use for conditional approval. Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We also have a site plan action as well.
I'll make a motion for case number 25-013 for 3375 Shippers Drive Northwest for the commercial recreation building. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to approve the final area site plan for the new commercial recreation building and associated site improvements at 3375 Shippers Drive Northwest, subject to the following conditions and based on the findings of facts below. Conditions of the final area site plan review approval. 1. The Planning Commission grants the request PUD benefit of allowing 2 freestanding signs. Each should not to exceed the permitted size allowed for a freestanding sign in the CUP district in section 16.11. The applicant must provide additional evergreen trees along the north property line to create natural barrier between the adjacent uses at the staff's direction. Findings of facts per section 11-02.g.5. The PUD, as described by the final area site plan dated 8/19/2025, does continue to meet the standards contained in the preliminary area site plan, section 11.02.c.7 of the zoning ordinance. The final area site plan is in substantial compliance with the previously approved preliminary area site plan consisting of maps and accompanying written material. The PUD does comply with the uses permitted by the CUPD district and the uses approved within the related PSAP.
Okay, we have a motion by Elena.
Yes.
If I may, I'm going to interject because this is my error. The reference to Scott's report is missing from here.
Okay.
Most of them appear to be met. The one that isn't is that the private utility, the 10-foot private utility easement along both roads should be recorded and shared with the city.
So 3, to comply with all the conditions in the engineer's report dated 8/27/2025.
Okay,
That report includes the 7-foot sidewalks? I'm sorry, that was a question. Does that report include the 7-foot sidewalks?
It does.
Yeah.
I think Steve had mentioned too that they changed it on the plan, but maybe just didn't change the dimensions, so we should be good either way there.
Okay, so we've got a motion, amended motion and support for the conditional approval of the final area site plan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much, appreciate it.
Paula?
Yes, okay, I'm pulling up the date here. Our next meeting is scheduled for 9/17. So we are having that second meeting in September. Riverbend North will be returning at that time. And we have one other thing, which I believe is the Mines Golf Course driving range expansion. So they're proposing to add like a 4-season building with kind of roll doors so people can practice their golf swing year-round. So those are the two things currently on that agenda. I was asked at the last meeting about the 4064 Remembrance rezoning. I have been in touch with that applicant. He's kind of changed his vision, and the new proposal is for, tentatively for some like senior housing townhome design. That still needs to go to staff site plan review before it will come back here. So the applicant is working on that in a different way
All right. No, appreciate that.
to come back
that
at a
update.
later date.
Any other comments, questions for Paula? Scott? Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Motion-
Support?
Motion and supported to close the meeting. All indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.